Senate will come to order. Mr. Schaffler, please call the roll.
Senators Amabile, Baisley, Ball, Bridges, Bright, Carson, Catlin, Cutter, Danielson, Doherty, Exum,
Good morning, sir.
Frizzell, Gonzalez, Henriksen, Judah, Kip, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston, Marchman,
Excused.
Michelson Janae, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Snyder, Sullivan, Wallace, Weissman, Winter,
Excused.
Zamora Wilson. Mr. President.
Let's do this. The morning roll call is 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Zamora Wilson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the journal. Senator Ball.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of August 21st, 2025 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. But the ayes have it. That motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly printed, Senate Bill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Senate Concurrent Resolution 1. Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Mr. Schaffler, please add Senator Marchman to the roll. We'll take a senatorial 5. And we're back. Mr. Schaffler, please add Senator Winter to the roll. Third reading of bills. Final passage. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of Senate Bill 003.
Senate Bill 003 by Senators Michelson, Janae, and Wallace, and Representatives Garcia and Stewart, concerning supporting access to healthy food for Coloradans and in connection therewith amending the ballot issue language for a measure on the November 2025 ballot and modifying the permissible uses of the Healthy School Meals for All cash fund.
Senator Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 25B-003.
Discussion on the bill. Senator Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today we have the opportunity to help ensure that no child in Colorado goes hungry at home or at school. 2 in 5 of the families that we each represent struggle to afford enough food to eat and feed their children. That's not a statistic that we can accept. It's a call to action. I'm proud of Colorado voters for overwhelmingly approving the Healthy School Meals for All program in 2022. That vote spoke volumes about our shared values as Coloradans, that every child deserves access to healthy, nutritious meals regardless of their zip code or their family's income. Thanks to this program, schools are now serving over 600,000 meals every day, and we're seeing the impact. We've supported local economies and food producers. We've boosted students' attendance, improved graduation rates, and supported better health outcomes. And we've saved our Colorado families up to $1,300 per child each year, relieving real financial pressure at a time when we're all struggling to afford the basic necessities. But we know that work isn't finished. Some families are still slipping through the cracks, especially our middle-income families, who may not qualify for existing food assistance, yet struggle to make ends meet. And now, with the recent passage of H.R. 1, we face even greater risk. Federal cuts to SNAP threaten the food security of over 300,000 Colorado families. Half of those participants are children. Many are older adults or people living with disabilities. While our congressional delegation has failed, where they've decided to let families and vulnerable people go hungry, Coloradans, in their impeccable wisdom, are stepping up to fill the gap. I'm so proud of us for that, and I know that Coloradans will do the same this November. What I'm asking today is that you let the voters have the choice to ensure that no child go hungry, not just in the classroom, but at the dinner table. I was raised by a single mom, a nurse who supported us living paycheck to paycheck. I remember the shame of being pulled out of the lunch line because my mom's check had bounced. I was told to fix it as if a kid could fix poverty. That moment has stayed with me. No child should ever be singled out, embarrassed, or made to feel less because their family is struggling. Today, I stand here as a senator ready to fix it for every child who deserves to eat with dignity, without stigma, and without question. We have the opportunity to strengthen the Healthy School Meals for All program, helping ensure it's fully and sustainably funded and doesn't miss a single child. This measure also ensures that Colorado can continue to step up where the federal government is stepping back, by supporting and protecting SNAP access and the food assistance that families rely on. Let me be clear, this is an economically responsible investment. SNAP dollars go nearly immediately back into local economies, feeding families and supporting our communities. That's why there's such broad support behind this bill. Colleagues, with this bill, we have the opportunity to continue Colorado's proud tradition of putting our kids first and ensuring that no child goes hungry simply because they can't afford food. I urge your yes vote, and I thank you for your consideration.
Further discussion? There is further discussion. Senator Frizzell.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I want to thank the bill sponsors for bringing this legislation. I certainly appreciate the sentiment that children should not be singled out, that children should be well fed and cared for. I think that we are obligated to ensure that the most vulnerable in the state of Colorado are given the hand up that they need sometimes. But I have several issues with this bill, and I'm going to try to be very succinct about them, and because I believe that in 2022, voters were told that if we had a $95 million tax hike that would fund school meals for kids, that was a promise that was made, and it wasn't enough. We know, we here in this legislature know that that $95 million has been inadequate to fully fund that program. I have a couple of concerns about that in and of itself, because is it really doing the things that it was intended to do? Is it effective? Is it efficient? And is it making the meaningful difference that we really, really intended, or the voters intended? So I worry about that. That's heavily on my mind. And I also am concerned about if we are to introduce this particular bill to Proposition, I believe it is MM, that we are subverting the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, rather than, if there is a surplus collected, it going back to the people from whence it came, because this money is and does belong to the taxpayers of the state of Colorado. And they have these tax dollars being collected whether they vote for the bill or not, whether they vote for the proposition or not. So that concerns me because it is, to me, another way around the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which over 70% of the citizens of the state, regardless of political affiliation, agree with. They agree with it. They support the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. They support the idea that government should be accountable for the money that they manage on behalf of the citizens. The other thing that concerns me, and I asked questions in committee yesterday about this, and I candidly didn't feel all warm and fuzzy about the response, so I wanted to bring these up, and perhaps the bill sponsors could, if they have the ability to or the time, they could address this a little bit. But the federal bill, H.R. 1, now requires states to contribute towards SNAP benefit costs, not completely, but it depends on the state. And we have this error rate component of the calculation. And if we are above a certain threshold, the state of Colorado or the state of Utah or the state of Wyoming, fill in the blank state, is responsible for that percentage as opposed to the federal government. And Colorado's error rate is above that threshold. It is 9.97%, which means that we would be having to contribute approximately 10% towards SNAP benefit costs. And there are ways to reduce that error rate. And my question was, are we working on that? Are we trying to make the administration of this program more efficient, more effective? Are we working to get that down so that we wouldn't have to make up those costs? Because to me, and I'm certainly not a legislator at the federal level, thankfully, thank God, every day, but here's the thing, is, if I were reading between the lines on this, I would think, well, maybe they are suggesting that states should be more efficient with how they administer this program. This program that is really, really critically, and I will 100% all day long say, this is an important program to those Colorado citizens who are most vulnerable. But are we doing the best job here in the state of Colorado at administering this? And to me, this is perhaps, it's not a carrot, that's for sure, but it is a means of the federal government saying, you all need to manage this process better, be better. And the other piece of it is the administrative costs are borne at a greater rate through H.R. 1 than they have been in the past, by a factor of 2. And again, are we working to improve the effectiveness at which we administer these costs? How are we doing this? How can we do it better? And, I'm not a big fan of sticks, but we sure as heck in this chamber and the other one over there and in this building, we use sticks on local government every day. It happens. We pass down costs, whether it's local government or hospitals or, I don't know, fill in the blank. But we pass down costs. And to use the words of my good minority leader, it's a little disingenuous to wring our hands and clutch our pearls at this point in time that the federal government is doing the same. I think we can manage these programs more effectively. I believe that there's a great deal of waste in the state of Colorado's administration of a variety of programs, and we haven't really had to be very introspective over the last several years because we've been able to just keep on keeping on. But we're not there anymore. We're not in that place anymore from a financial standpoint, and it's by golly time that we start figuring out how to tighten our belts, how to reduce budgets, and work more efficiently on behalf of the citizens of the state of Colorado. We have asked over and over and over again for the people in this state to tighten their belts. We have passed policy in this building that has very definitely increased their costs of living, their costs of doing business. And we must do the same. It is unconscionable for us in this building to think that we should ask more of the people of this state than we are willing to do ourselves. I want to reiterate, the SNAP program is really important. It's important to the people in this state, to many people. But we need to do better. We can do better. I believe that in my heart. I ask for a no vote on this bill. Thank you.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, I'm trying to figure out when the federal government actually cut SNAP. The comment is that SNAP was cut. So the SNAP dollar amount wasn't cut. What happened is, and what the federal government is saying, is that the implementation of SNAP will cost more by the state, that the feds aren't going to provide as much of a match to implement SNAP. So I would like to know what amount the federal government actually cut SNAP benefits and to whom, because I never saw that. And I also, at one point I thought I heard maybe the state cut funding to SNAP, and that hasn't happened either. So I would just like to know when that occurred and how much it was. Anybody know? Do you know what answer? I don't know what the answer. Well,
Senator Kirkmeyer.
sorry. Thank you, Mr. President. I stepped away, so I thought I better ask again. The comment was made in an opening statement that the federal government cut SNAP, that H.R. 1 cut SNAP. I don't believe that to be accurate. That's why I was asking the question. And sitting on the Joint Budget Committee, I usually kind of get this information, and talking to human services directors throughout the state who are required to implement the program and determine who's eligible for it. I didn't get that information from them either. So that's what I heard, and I don't believe that to be accurate. What happened with H.R. 1 and what's occurring is that the implementation costs more are shifting to the state, which the state is talking about trying to shift more of that off and put that burden onto local governments, onto counties, not all local governments, just counties. So again, I mean, this is kind of the information that keeps coming out, that we keep hearing here from the Capitol, that H.R. 1's cutting benefits and H.R. 1's doing all these things, both in SNAP and in Medicaid. So I will just say this. First of all, with the Medicaid eligibility determinations, those have not been changed. Those were not changed in H.R. 1. So the amount of dollars, the 138% of the federal poverty level for people to be on Medicaid has not changed, and neither has that changed for SNAP. So the dollar amounts for the actual benefit I don't believe has been cut. I don't know of anyone that has actually been kicked off of anything, so I would like to know exactly how much money was cut from SNAP benefits, not how much more money the state is going to have to pay to administer this, because that's what's changing, is the administration cost of it. And you know, I'm thinking the same way that the state treats county government in saying that you should have a share in this because those are your constituents that are receiving the benefits, so you should have to help pay for the implementation. I'm thinking maybe the feds are thinking the same thing, that the states should have more of a share in this and paying for implementation. So, and then back to the comments that were made from the Good Senator from Douglas County, is that she's exactly correct. The Department of Human Services has known about this change, especially with the error rate. They've known about the error rate issue for a while. We have time to try and fix that error rate. In fact, if we fix it and we get down below 6%, then we don't have to match as much. So it's a very good question, and you know, I've asked it, I think, at the Joint Budget Committee, and I'll probably be asking it again as we get through the as we go through hearings and such with the budget and stuff, is why the Department of Human Services hasn't actually reached out sooner and reached out in a more meaningful way with their partners who have to implement this program at the county level for all of our constituents, for the people of the state of Colorado. SNAP is a very important program. It's an important program that we must figure out how to make sure that we fund it, fund the implementation of it. But again, I didn't hear that benefits were being cut. I heard that our administration dollars would be increased because of our error rate here in the state. And in fact, I'm trying to get messages now from folks to figure out what that is. But anyways, again, I would just like to know how much has actually been cut from benefits and which criteria changed that said certain people are not eligible for SNAP benefits. Because again, keep hearing that those things have changed, similar to like what folks here keep saying about Medicaid, that we're going to kick off hundreds of thousands of people. No one's getting kicked off. So again, if I could get that number, I would appreciate it, and then I have other comments to make.
Senator Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to my colleague from Weld County. $6 million in H.R. 1 was cut from SNAP education funding. That starts this October. The administration fees that you were talking about in 2027 will be cut by $50 million. I'll just say, as we're talking about counties and implementation, that there are times when we have to come together as a state and represent 64 counties, just as there are times when the federal government needs to come together and represent not one individual district, but the entire nation, and help us uplift our people by making large investments from their level. It was asked about work requirements and benefits that will be reduced for certain people. I'll say the paperwork requirements that we are seeing coming out of H.R. 1 have high rates of turning folks down, not because they don't qualify, but because they are burdensome paperwork that is creating more bureaucracy and making it harder for folks. The direct benefit decrease that we will see from H.R. 1 is absolutely coming and is yet to be seen, but will have devastating impacts. Thank you, Mr. President.
Got it. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just so everybody understands, you're talking to a person who was a county commissioner back in 1996 and 1997. I know I haven't mentioned that in a while, but I just would like to let you know, because that is when the temporary aid to needy families program was pushed through and welfare reform happened, and work participation rates were required by then President Bill Clinton, who was a Democrat, who required not only work participation rates, but also required a 2-year time clock for people to get to work, and also a 5-year lifetime clock, 5-year lifetime situation. So I'm pretty well aware of what happens when work requirements are put in place, having to have administered that program during the 1990s when those changes were taking place. And I would just say this, counties didn't go out and hire 3,000 more employees to make sure that we were following through on the requirements that came from the federal level to the state level that then they shoved down in an unfunded mandate to counties. So thank you for making my point, though, however, and thank you for the information. $6 million cut from education funding, not from benefits for SNAP recipients. $50 million cut from implementation fees, not from benefits for SNAP recipients. So the statement that was made to begin with that said we cut that HR 1 cut funding to SNAP recipients was incorrect. Benefits are still the same. What is happening here, because of our error rate at 6%, which the Department of Human Services apparently is not taking seriously enough because they have failed to have serious conversations and partnerships and work in partnership with counties to do this, makes us all kind of go, what the heck are they doing? They have known about this for a while. It's not like this has been new news just recently. It's not like this hasn't been being talked about. The error rates have been being talked about for years. The fact that our error rate is above 6% is a problem. And I will tell you, the Department of Human Services, instead of looking to get more assistance for the counties, tried to cut county admin. In the governor's budget request, we tried to cut county admin. County admin is the dollars that we pay to the counties to implement these programs that are required by the state. It's an unfunded mandate to counties. So they tried to cut it. The error rate has always been a problem. They should have always been working on it. So it's not new news. So the fact that counties are trying to reach out to the Department of Human Services, and this was a couple of months ago, because the department is failing to reach out to them, that would be a problem. For the department to think that they can just try and fix the error rate on their own, that would be a problem. For the department to continue, Department of Human Services in the state of Colorado, just so we know which department I'm talking about, when they come in and say and suggest that we should cut administration dollars, county administration dollars, so that they can fulfill the unfunded mandate and get people signed up and determined for these programs so they can get their benefits, because SNAP is extremely important. Food security is extremely important for everyone. But my problem is when you come up here and you say, this is because of HR 1, that is incorrect. We need to start getting our facts correct. We need to stop saying things just to try and deflect and move away and say this is somebody else's problem. This is our problem. We have had this problem for a while, and it's only getting exasperated because we don't cut our spending on programs that are nice to have, and we don't put our spending to programs that we have to have for the people of the state of Colorado. So, back to the bill, 003. I have issues with it because, one, when we introduced the Healthy Meals program, and when this went to a vote, it was to provide funding, to provide food for children in schools.
Senator
Right.
Kirkmeyer, would you like to
That was-
go into your second 10 minutes?
That would be great. Thank you, sir.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. President. That would be great. And you know, since we all have stories to tell, I'm going to sidetrack here just a little bit. For the last couple of days, I've been dropping off my grandchildren to school because my daughter's out of town. And, you know, I'm responsible to get them there on time. And this morning, I'm dropping off 3 grandsons who are 10, 8, and 6. And I asked them if they got their breakfast, and they said, yeah, they ate at home. And I'm dropping them off. And I said, why aren't you eating at school? And they told me those meals suck. That's why they don't eat there. So there's a lot of waste. So I just want you to know how they feel about the Healthy Meals program. They said they told me specifically that the bread is soggy, that the meat is it tastes stale to them, and they don't like it. So maybe we need to do a better job at the meals that we're providing. But I'm just telling you, that's a real life story from this morning. But anyways, back to what I was saying is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is extremely important to the state of Colorado. That's why I think we should be doing a better job at it. But the Healthy Meals Program that we had and that has been voted on by folks, you know, it's kind of disingenuous to go out to the voters now a few years later and say, look, the first time around we messed up and the Blue Book apparently was wrong or things were wrong and we need to come back and we voted on this, and we said this was going to cost us this much, and then it's actually costing more because we want to do more, and because we want to do more things, and we won't put a determination on who can get this to make sure that we stick with under the funding. And at the JBC, we ended up funding something like $50 million to this program because they overextended. And then we sit there and we say, the next year, we got to come back and we put it on the ballot again because we want to retain the money. And thank God at least you did follow Tabor and you went back for a vote. Thank you on that. That was good. But you go back for a vote. But everybody thinks when they see healthy school meals for all, they think that is for exactly what was described by the bill sponsors here, that it's for children in schools so that they can get healthy meals. It is not so that we can figure out how to pay for our administrative and implementation costs at the state. They don't understand that that's what's going on here. It's kind of, that shell game again, that shift and shaft. We're telling you it's for kids for healthy meals so that they can get meals in school. Good idea. I mean, kids got to eat. To be able to go through their school day and learn, they've got to have food and they've got to have their bodies, energized and nutrition. I understand that, but it's pretty deceiving when you add in a cost that should be to the state who's been irresponsible in not getting the error rate down and working through this program and working with their partners at the county level. It's pretty disingenuous to try and now put our implementation costs on to the taxpayers. To some taxpayers, obviously not all of us, but to some taxpayers, and you're trying to sell this as it's healthy meals for kids. Yeah, we know, we voted on it twice already. But now this isn't about healthy meals for kids. This is about covering our costs in the state because we're not doing our job here and prioritizing appropriately or partnering with counties like we should be. So for those reasons, I would ask for a no vote. This state needs to get their act together. We need to figure out what our priorities should be, and we should fund those. And those should be core functions of government. Those should be things like K-12 education. Those should be things like Medicaid provider rates in our healthcare system. Those should be things like funding neglected and abused kids and kids with disabilities. And just because we can't get our act together and figure out how to get this down doesn't mean that we should go back to taxpayers and try on a different agenda item, on a different ballot issue about healthy meals for kids and say, yeah, really, it's just because we haven't figured out how to cover our own costs and because they're getting increased now because of our error rate. If we get our error rate down to 6%, we're good. We are good. So how about we work on that? I would ask for a no vote.
Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we have some mighty challenges in front of us for the rest of this special session and certainly in the coming regular session. And I hope that we can all be anchored in a common nucleus of operative facts more solidly than we seem to be as we undertake to meet these challenges, because we're not going to get there otherwise. Let's rewind the tape. July 1st, fiscal year 26 begins in the state of Colorado. We have a balanced budget. Federal law exists in one condition. July 4th, Independence Day, H.R. 1 is signed into law, a sweeping set of changes throughout the Internal Revenue Code and elsewhere. And on the estimate of our nonpartisan economists, we're going to lose $1.2 billion of revenue. So yeah, we're in this special session because of H.R. 1. SNAP is in the call. Feeding kids is in the call because of H.R. 1. You can like H.R. 1 or not, but that is a direct causal relationship. Yes, there have been error rates in SNAP. Frankly, any government program is run by humans. We're all imperfect. And if you've been around here long enough, and I guess I'm one of those people who have been now, yeah, we've been aware of that. Here's the key difference. Federal policy did not used to condition the state share of SNAP on those error rates in the same way until H.R. 1 was signed. Yes, every state wants to administer its program efficiently because it's got some skin in the game too. There didn't used to be a stick. $1.5 billion is the total economic benefit that has flowed into Colorado that has helped feed hungry human beings, including all of our constituents, under SNAP up to this point. Some of that money is going to go away. It is going to go away because of H.R. 1. There's a saying in the law that one intends the foreseeable consequences of one's actions. On that reasoning, I would say it was the intent of H.R. 1 and those who wrote it and pushed for it and supported it in the federal Congress to, in fact, draw money back from states, to pay less of the administrative share, to suffer the consequence that some people would get kicked off of the rolls because of challenges in things like operationalizing work requirements. So, you can be for H.R. 1, you can be against it, but I don't think that you can deny the causality of why we're here. And frankly, members, we have to be candid about this. It was a big piece of policy. There's no ducking the reality. There's no ducking what it does to the tax law. There's no ducking what it does to revenue collection. There's no ducking what it does to struggling people. We just got to stare that in the face. Now, as to the role of the voters in cleaning up the mess that Congress made, in the bill, you can see the old ballot title and you can see the new one. Had we not had to come in here because of H.R. 1, pursuant to legislation we passed earlier this year, the ballot title would have been, shall taxes be increased by a change to CRS to support the Healthy School Meals for All program? Talking squarely about healthy school meals. Now we need to have an accurate ballot title. So the legislation in front of us proposes to broaden the title, as it must, to support access to healthy food for Colorado kids and families, including, and not limited to, the Healthy School Meals for All program. Different title. We are putting that choice in front of the voters. Voters can agree or disagree with the expanded purpose. I don't think you can simultaneously exalt Tabor, much less a rigid construction of it, and then not let this kind of choice go before the voters. Look, I hope voters approve it. I mean, I'll be voting for this resolution, or legislation rather, and I'll be voting for the question when it comes to me on my general election ballot, and I'll be urging people to do the same. And if people decline the expanded utilization of this funding, then okay, we're back to cleaning up the mess that H.R. 1 made in some other way. I think you can think about SNAP this way. State dollars plus federal dollars divided by beneficiaries. What H.R. 1 will do, directly, immediately, and over time, as the senator from Boulder County noted, is take federal dollars out of the equation. That's a cut. It's just a cut. We just have to talk honestly and directly about what's going on here. H.R. 1, cut SNAP, risks hurting people. It's why we're here, to clean up the mess. It's why I'm a yes on this bill and why I hope we all are. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Good morning. Trying to think about this and not oversimplify the challenges and issues in front of us. Without going into, we could debate at length about whether we started July the 1st with a balanced budget or not. I would say when we picked which revenue stream we were going to balance our budget to in March, and we picked the most aggressive one that said we're going to have more revenue than the more conservative one that said let's start from a little better spot and actually think about the challenges in front of us. So we could argue about whether we were started July 1st with a balanced budget or not. And this conversation today and about either the pros and cons of the support or disappointment in H.R. 1 are outside of what I think is this SB 003 and the reality that HB 1 ultimately reduced the tax burden on Coloradans. SB 003, though, for me, and again, trying not to oversimplify it, but thinking about this conversation started with Proposition FF in 2022 and the creation of the Healthy School Meals for All. We then, this last session, passed House Bill 25-1274, which was now going to create Proposition MM to go to the voters and seek increase in revenue and raise people's taxes to fund the program. I characterize SB 003 now as an effort to go, all right, and it's based on whether that Proposition MM passes this November, where do we get to use that revenue stream from? Can more of it be used for administrative purposes is what again, try not to oversimplify, but that's what the ask is of this bill, is to allow us to use that increase in tax revenue under Proposition MM to fund the administration of this program. And I got asked about this yesterday and thinking about, are you taking money out of, the program itself that's putting meals in place in schools, healthy school meals for all, and shifting some of that to pay for the additional administrative costs? And we could get into the payment error rate and that opportunity to really reduce our obligation from an administrative perspective. But why wouldn't we think about challenging ourselves in finding ways to pay for that administrative cost, that extra burden, outside of taking it out of funding the program and creating healthier meals for all school kids? And that's, for me, a distinction where we've lacked, I think, prioritizing where and how we want to pay for things. I think this is anecdotally one of those instances where we could actually spend some time, energy, and resource and find ways to cover the new administrative costs and not detract from the program and the funding for the program and the vital resources that it provides. So for that reason, I'm in opposition to SB 003. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sponsors.
You got it. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 003. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader Frizzell, Zamora Wilson, Catlin, Baisley, Rich, Pelton B., Kirkmeyer, Bright, Carson, Pelton R., Liston, with a vote of 23 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 003 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Cutter, Doherty, Amabile, Marchman, Gonzalez, Judah, Kip, Winter, Mr. Majority Leader Bridges, Wiseman, Henriksen, Ball, Sullivan, Snyder, Colker, Exum, Mullica, Roberts, Danielson. Please add the president. Mr. Schauffler, please read the title of Senate Bill 002.
Senate Bill 002 by Senators Bridges and Doherty and Representatives Bacon and Wilford, concerning state-only funding for entities that are prohibited from receiving reimbursement from the federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services due to the entity providing certain reproductive health care services.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 2 on third reading, final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 2. Are there any aye votes? Any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader Kirkmeyer, Frizzell, Zamora Wilson, Rich, Liston, Bright, Pelton B., Baisley, Catlin, Pelton R., Who is the minority whip? Who is? No takers? No one is the whip of the minority caucus? If you guys need help, I'm happy to go back to my old role. Senator Henriksen is looking for extra work as well. You're per diem. Carson as a no vote. With a vote of 23 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 002 is passed. Senator Carson will be fined $1 for being late. Co-sponsors, Senators Michelson Janae, Mr. Majority Leader, Cutter, Wallace, Kip, Winter, Judah, Gonzalez, Marchman, Amabile, Roberts, Weissman, Henriksen, Sullivan, Ball, Snyder, Colker. Any other co-sponsors? Oh, Malika. Please add the president. Please add Senator Danielson as a co-sponsor to Senate Bill 002. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title to Senate Bill 005.
Senate Bill 005 by Senators Roberts and Catlin and Representatives Lukens and Martinez concerning a reallocation of funding from the Division of Parks and Wildlife for the reintroduction of gray wolves to the Colorado Health Insurance Affordability Enterprise and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 5 on third reading, final passage, and ask for an aye vote.
Further discussion. Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll ask you to vote yes on this bill today because it does do a part of what we set out to do. So part of it is better than none of it. So I ask for a yes vote today, please.
Further discussion. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was the no vote on the amendment. I was the no vote on the committee vote, and I'm going to be a no vote on this again. Not because of the legislation or anything, just really kind of on general principles. This bill, as I read it, as it was explained to us, was to put a pause on the wolf integration program and take the $264,000 and move it over to help affordability of health care for people in rural areas. Or it was keep the program moving forward, not send the money over. That was the choice. That is what we were going to vote on. Apparently, in the final moments, the governor's office decided that they didn't want to take a chance that this might pass and there would be a pause and the governor would have to veto that bill. So all of a sudden, they reached into, and I would suggest we begin looking into the governor's couches and cushions, because apparently there's money there. He was able, and his staff was able to find the $264,000 and said, keep everything the way it is, and we'll give you the $264,000. And that's what they agreed to do. So there is no pausing of the wolves being put back into the neighborhoods, in the communities up there. The 15 wolves are going to come. The $264,000 is going to be taken and sent over to help keep the cost of health care lower in these rural areas. And some organization with the approval of the governor's office, is going to send over the $264,000 that we're going to move. So, I mean, on general principles, I'm against that. And it's not even because of the 3 hours and the over 52 Coloradans who came to that committee hearing to explain one way or the other. I mean, quite frankly, I probably needed to hear all of that information in the 3+ hours of it going on. I did get quite a bit of information there, knowing that there's other ways to do this, and maybe we weren't quite up to speed on some of the implementation ways, and to try to keep the livestock and the farmers' lands safer. We weren't utilizing all of that kind of stuff. And we should, get going on that kind of stuff. One of the things that I heard, and I can't verify this, but that's what they said, wolves in Yellowstone Park, just the wolves, account for $78 million of revenue for Yellowstone Park. Has nothing to do with the fishing or the other wildlife or Old Faithful or rental of cars or anything. $78 million is generated in Yellowstone Park just because there are wolves running through the forest there. I think we could use $78 million for our running wolves, because apparently there are people out there who want to see a wolf in the wild. Not one of them, okay? I've seen the movie. I don't need to see them. But apparently people need to see them in the wild, and they will pay a lot of money to see them. I mean, just imagine, it's a Jurassic Park thing. They're going to get in the little vans. They're going to drive through the forest, and a pack of wolves are going to go by. They're going to take their pictures and hope they don't jump in the window, and we end up with, Wolf Park 2, and then, the coming of Wolf Park. But if there's $78 million in it, let's get Wolf Park going. Let's really get it going. But that's not what we're doing in this bill. All we did was some switcheroos. This was a magical trick where we just did the shell game, we moved things around, and we're back to where we started. And maybe that was the intent. We just can't help talking about wolves down here. And we want to talk about wolves. And yeah, they are not in my community. As far as I know, there are no wolves walking through Arapahoe and the little corner of Douglas County that I have. But the people in my community are very concerned and will be talking about wolves on and on and on. So I'm a no on this, but you guys all just vote your conscience.
Further discussion. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gosh, I almost felt like saying welcome to the Joint Budget Committee, but what I would say is this. First of all, I would just like to thank the sponsors for continuing to work this through and address this issue that is of great concern to a lot of folks. And yes, I'm in Weldon, Larimer counties, and it's a great concern there, especially when I talk to folks over on the west side of Larimer County. So thank you for doing that. I just wish maybe we could get more money out of the governor's office. That bridge didn't happen. That was $28.5 million. Maybe we could get that moved over. You could work your magic and get that moved over to the enterprise. Just a thought. But otherwise, I think to the two good senators who have worked on this very diligently, thank you for doing what you're doing. It's great that you're listening to not only your constituents, but our constituents as well. I just greatly appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll be a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is, there is further discussion. Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I was on this committee. This is kind of like one of those gray areas, but when referencing Jurassic Park, we remember what happened in Jurassic Park, right? The predators started eating the humans. But anyway, I've digressed. But getting back to this, some of the things that that made me question is this program was forecasted to have costs of $800,000. It actually has gone and surpassed over 400%. Now, I know this was the will of the voters, but I don't think it was the will of the voters to have a blank check. And surely to know that these costs were going to overrun as much as they have. Just some of the things that I was thinking as I was on this committee. I had served in the Air Force and had worked on several big projects, and if the contractor overran its contract by 400%, that program would be on the chopping block and be canceled. I've seen it. But anyway, going back to the bill, when I'm trying to figure out the cost and the benefits, here the economist in me comes out. I'm looking at short-term, long-term goals. And what is this trying to do? It's trying to help clinics, hospitals, to help and care for people. And what I'm seeing in this special session, I have concerns that our benefits, health benefits, are going to be greatly impacted. People are not going to be able to afford the cost of being healthy, and that includes hospitals and clinics, and what happens in economics. If it becomes too costly, the providers will get out of the market. And we're talking about rural areas. What does that mean? Well, that creates a scarcity. And with scarcity, increases costs and prices. Who's going to carry that burden? It's going to be the Colorado taxpayer. So as I'm zooming out at the 30,000-foot view, I'm looking at the long run of this. That was bringing me to, I'll be a yes on that, just because I'm seeing that if we don't do this, there's going to be increased costs to the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? There is further discussion. Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thought I'd come up here, down here, whatever we call it, and talk a little bit about what the goals were and some of the problems that happened. The goal was to get a pause, but it was also to stop general fund money from being used to purchase the wolves and take those dollars and put them into the insurance enterprise. We accomplished that. The point is, we're never sure of what outside entities want, how they want to participate. And I don't know if we are able to say to an outside entity, sorry, you cannot donate. I'm not sure we have that kind of power. There's always that threat on some of these things. We write bills with gifts, grants, and honorariums. We do a lot of that. So on the outside of this bill, that's standing there waiting. We don't know if that's going to happen, but I did hear something that did kind of lighten my heart. There are a lot more people talking about wolves than there was when we voted on them. I think there are some people in the state of Colorado that may have buyer's remorse over the wolf program, that if it was run today, it might not pass. That's conjecture. But I do hear from people that say, I wish I hadn't voted for it. What we're trying to do is something for the good of the people that have sent me up here. They asked me if I could do something. We took it upon ourselves to try and do something. And we did accomplish something that we set out to do, and that's no general fund money. So I don't want to be lambasted or a problem with what I set out to do and what ended up happening. Because the awareness is there now. General fund money is not going to purchase these wolves. If outside money purchases these wolves, it also gives us an indication of just how much attention are we being paid by the people that run the different systems. It will be a disappointment if what we've done needs to be outdone by people with a lot more money than what I would ever imagine. But that says an awful lot about them, too. So, I would ask you for a yes vote on this bill.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 005. Are there any no votes? Senators Wallace, Cutter, Sullivan. With a vote of 32 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 005 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Mullica, Snyder, Bright, Frizzell, Liston, Doherty, Pelton R, Kirkmeyer, Exum,
Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 001?
Senate Bill 001 by Senators Amabile and Coleman and Representative McCluskey and Sirota, concerning the processes for the governor to reduce spending when the state is unable to meet its fiscal obligations, and in connection therewith requiring the governor to present spending reductions plans to the Joint Budget Committee and receive advice from the Joint Budget Committee.
Senator, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We move Senate Bill 001 and ask for permission to offer a third reading amendment.
Okay, I'm looking.
The motion. Please tell us why you want one.
The motion is.
Please tell us why you want a third.
Please tell us why you want a third reading amendment.
Thank you, Madam President. We heard from members in this chamber and also in the House and from both sides of the aisle that people were concerned about this 2% threshold. So the third reading amendment simply changes the 2% threshold to a 3% threshold. And I ask for a yes vote on permission and on the amendment.
Is there any discussion? Okay. The question before the body is Senator Amabile's request for permission to offer a third reading amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and permission is granted. Will the clerk please read amendment number 004?
Amendment L004, amending gross bill, page 5, line 9, strike 2% and substitute 3%. Page 5, line 15, strike 2% and substitute 3%.
Senator Amabile.
Thank you. I think it's a pretty straightforward thing, and I ask for a yes vote. Oh, I move Amendment L004 to Senate Bill 001 and ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is for the adoption of Amendment 004 to SB 001. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, that amendment is adopted.
Further discussion on the bill.
Further discussion on the bill? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank the bill sponsors having discussions. I think this was an important step. I unfortunately will be a no on this bill. I feel that coming from a $1 billion trigger, recognizing that we had a lot lower budget of a 50% trigger, down to $350 million was a concern. So I appreciate the concession on this piece. Unfortunately, I must still be a no. There are a lot of concerns that I have in this bill, unintended consequences that I feel that we're seceding a lot of power to the governor that we will no longer have any accountability and response for. So I will be a no on this bill, and I just wanted to emphasize that. I think it's an easy conversation to have. Well, times are hard and think that this is important, but this could go on further enough, and I don't think it's something we can ever fix because I don't know any governor who would sign this unless we had the majorities to override that vote. So I will be a no, and I just would like to thank the sponsors for moving up to 3%.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Carson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President, I also am going to oppose this bill. You know, I have mixed feelings about it. I realize why this is being done, because obviously somebody around here has to make the tough decisions and the tough choices. But my concern is that's our job as legislators. And we are a part-time legislature. So, you know, we're not here a lot of the times, and so we need to cede some power to the governor. But I think the people of the state elect us. They expect us to make tough choices, tough decisions. They expect this body, the House and the Senate, the General Assembly, to make these decisions. If you look at just the last few years, you know, we hear about how the budget is growing, or not growing, I should say, but in fact it is growing. In 2021, the overall spending was $30 billion, 21-22, 31.6, 22-23, $35 billion, 22-23, $37 billion, or excuse me, 23-24, 24-25 is $42 billion, and then now we're up to $44 billion. So, you know, when I got here in January, I heard about $1.2 billion deficit. We were going to have all these spending cuts. Well, I think I missed them because it seemed what we did was we really just cobbled together a lot of money that was in reserves and extra accounts. We're not going to be able to keep doing that. You know, the days of being able to do that endlessly are going to end. You look at those numbers, that's a 50% growth in spending in 5 or 6 years. There aren't families in this state of Colorado that have had a 50% growth in their income. And so I think the legislature's really got to buckle down and make these tough spending choices. If you look at the federal government, you know, it's interesting that you know, one party will complain when the executive is issuing all these orders. You know, President Trump is issuing orders. The Democrats don't like it. Republicans don't like it. When President Biden is issuing all these executive orders and taking all this executive action or withholding funds. But I think a lot of that is because the Congress doesn't take responsibility and make the tough decisions at the federal level that they should be making. Somebody, again, has to make the decisions. And the founders, you know, there's a reason the founders put Article 1 was the Congress, the legislative branch, to make these decisions. You know, Article 1 is the legislature, Article 2 is the executive, Article 3 is the judiciary, and I think that's supposed to be the flow of power. So I think we should be making more of these decisions in the legislative body. I think the voters expect us to do that. Again, I realize why this bill is being offered, and it arguably does require more consultation with the legislature than we currently have. But I think if you step back and look at the real dynamic here, I have a lot of concerns about the legislature continually seizing power to the executive. So I will oppose Senate Bill 1. Thank you.
Senator Weissman? Never mind. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 001 as amended. Are there any no votes? Senators Rich, Baisley, Catlin, Zamora Wilson, Frizzell, Simpson, Pelton B., Kirkmeyer, Bright, Carson, Pelton R., Liston, Rodriguez, Kolker, Mullica. With Danielson. With a vote of 19 ayes, 16 noes, 0 absent, and 0 excused, Senate Bill 001 is adopted, is passed. Co-sponsors.
Great bill.
Good job.
Senator, oh wow, co-sponsors, Senate Bill 001, Senator Bridges. Thank you. Announcements. Members, before we make any announcements, I want to acknowledge that we have a former senator, the Honorable Senator Hagedorn, back here in the gray. Please stand and be recognized. Announcements. Mr. Senator Amabile.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we are going to pause. Well, I don't know what we're going to do here. We're going to recess, and then at some future time, we will hear Senate Bill 4 in appropriations. And I will have to just communicate that to you all when we have the canaries. And it'll be upstairs in room 357.
Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, colleagues. Yeah, the plan is to break to go to appropriations, and we will recess and return back to do seconds. That will probably complete the end of the day unless something crazy happens, which I don't think that math's in the House. So, keep around, look for the call. On that note, Mr. President, I move that the Senate recess until 11:30 a.m. today.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand in recess until 11:30 a.m. today.